People say you should love yourself. I guess it's not that simple or obvious to everyone. But I'm confident everyone can hate themselves. The only requirement is to drink a life-threatening amount of something combustible. I woke up and lay in bed for some time, staring at the ceiling, struggling to understand who and where I was. I couldn't even recall how I got home yesterday. Or to be more precise, this morning. My last memory was of that conversation with Ed. That seemed to be after midnight? What time was it when I woke up? The hour hand pointed straight at the Roman numeral 1. So I'd slept for almost 12 hours? And why did I feel like shit? Although it was equally possible I'd gotten home way later than I thought. A headache and nausea wouldn't let me stay in bed, but as soon as I stood up, the whole world shifted under my feet, forcing me to lie down again. I grazed my leg against the table, knocking a piece of paper off of it. Nika-kun, you can't drink like this. Found you in the hallway this morning, and just barely dragged you to your bed. I'll drop by after school. I'm sure you won't be able to go anywhere. But even if you intend to, don't think about it. It was written in Russian in Himitsu's beautiful, neat handwriting. For once, I completely agreed with her. Moreover, I was going to insist on reinstituting prohibition. Half an hour in the bathroom somewhat brought me to my senses. Not really, though. I had barely regained the ability to move more or less steadily without every motion causing my head to ache. There are tsukemono on the table. No pickle juice, sure, but anything I wouldn't immediately vomit back out was good for me, and I managed to eat them without much difficulty. I felt somewhat better after restoring the balance of electrolytes in my body, even if not for long. Well, now being sober, I realized that yesterday I had been drinking way more than that Ed guy. While he was nursing a single beer, I would finish a couple glasses of whiskey, maybe a few shots of tequila on top of that. Jesus. I was accelerating as if late for my train to hell. Ed. What an interesting guy. His words made me think about a number of things, but the true meaning was only coming through now. Of course, he didn't really say anything new, just described my condition in brief with a few accurate but hard-hitting statements. However, even that can be enough sometimes. The facts themselves don't change, but their interpretation does. Objective and subjective levels of existence, the struggle between perception and reality. The loud ring of the doorbell pierced my brain like lightning, my headache returning at once. Who the hell's there? I said quite loudly and opened the door. Catherine was standing at the doorstep. What a surprise. I was genuinely surprised. Is this a bad time? As you can see, it is. While in the bathroom, I had looked at myself in the mirror and harbored no doubt that my condition was self-evident. Not that Catherine was surprised in the first place. Looking at her, I recalled Ed's words about dependency. After all, the girl standing before me wasn't the same as 2 years ago, and she definitely wasn't the image from my dreams. Frankly speaking, I wasn't completely sure whether I loved this Catherine. At least whether I loved her as strongly as before. Didn't bring any gifts? I grinned, letting her pass to the kitchen. I wouldn't refuse a can of beer. I have something important to discuss. She ignored my words and sat down with her legs crossed. I'm listening. She wouldn't have come to my place without a reason anyway. It was clear we were going to talk about something of critical importance. I've talked to my mom about everything. About that phone call, you and your parents. She didn't want to explain anything for a while, but I insisted. To cut a long story short, you don't need to worry about anything anymore. Could you not cut the long story? As is, this doesn't sound very convincing, to be honest. She used to be indirectly related to your parents' work. You know, they worked on an important project, right? I nodded, even though I hadn't known about it until a couple of days ago. It turned out that things weren't going smoothly, and... Catherine went silent, frowned, and looked away. Nick, I know it may come as a shock to you, but they were suspected of being Russian spies. What? My lips stretched into an idiotic smile. Even if that were the case, was that a reason to kill them? Now it was Catherine's turn to be surprised. Kill? No, it was an accident. It's just that some questions related to their work have been raised recently. Mom told me all about it. And you believed her, naturally? I sighed. Now I definitely needed some beer. Why shouldn't I believe her? Indeed, if I took only the facts into account, her mother's story matched up pretty well with Ichinose's. Except that they had different narratives. He was blaming the corporation for everything that had happened, while Catherine's mother was trying to cover this accident up by making culprits out of Soviet engineers. You don't believe me, she said as a statement, not a question. I do. Or to be more precise, I believe that you believe it. I have no reason to believe your mother because... Was I supposed to tell her about my conversation with Ichinose? There was little chance it would put her at risk, but I still didn't want to take the chance. Think for yourself. What would you do in my place? I don't know. I'm sure my mom could never do anything like that. Like what? Strictly speaking, I never accused her mother of being personally involved in my parents' death. Was she involved indirectly? That was possible. Was she involved in the project? No doubt. But it was obvious that she hadn't been the one to issue the order. Anyway, I'm grateful that you came and told me everything. How couldn't I? Catherine asked, surprised. Oh, I'm sure you know enough ways. How couldn't? Do you still take me for the devil incarnate? I didn't know if it was the hangover or if some veil of Katya's divinity had been lifted from my perception, but I felt much more comfortable around her. Most likely because she was just behaving normally, trying to maintain some minimal level of courtesy. I just don't have any reason to trust your mother. I understand you and don't blame you. Of course you don't. Or not. I agree that the situation is complicated, but if you think about it, my mother didn't say anything objectionable. Of course, if we want to pick apart the wording. Yeah, I'm used to not doing that with you. I jabbed, but Catherine seemed to pay no attention to it. What do his parents have to do with all this? They're long dead. Why should we do this? If you're so interested in him, handle it by yourselves. You call that nothing objectionable? I am remembering her words correctly, right? They were connected through work somehow, I've already told you. On the other hand, if I disregarded how I was personally involved here, there was some logic to it. I could easily imagine a situation where Mrs. Winters had nothing to do with all this. But I absolutely did not want to believe that, and with good reason. Excuse me. Fine, I got you, I said dryly. Whatever the case, arguing with Catherine wouldn't be of any help to either of us. I'm glad. Not that she looked particularly satisfied. For a moment, I even had a thought that Katya was displeased by the fact that I was speaking to her so coldly with no mention of love till death do us part. Anything else? No, that's all. She stood up, smoothed out her skirt, casting an appraising glance over the kitchen and bid me farewell. Enjoy your hangover. After seeing her out, I felt proud of how much resilience I'd shown. Thank you, Ed. Still, it took me some time to fully digest our conversation. The clock read 4, but Himitsu still hadn't come. Logically, she should have rushed to my place right after school. I guess I even wanted that. That marathon yesterday managed to fulfill its objective. It blunted my sense of guilt, and I could look her in the eye with relative ease. Why not take the initiative, then? A minute later, I was enthusiastically ringing the doorbell of Himitsu's house. However, her father answered the door instead of her. Nikolai, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Ryunosuke-san. Is Himitsu home? She went out to do some shopping. Oh, then I'll drop by later. It's fine. Come in. You can wait here. She'll be back soon. Sorry to bother you. I used the standard Japanese form of politeness. Perhaps that wasn't my habit, but Ryunosuke-san commanded respect by appearance alone. A tall, especially for a Japanese, always serious and even somehow overly collected man, he didn't waste time on idle gossip. I couldn't recall ever seeing him smile. How are you doing, Nikolai? Himitsu's father asked in the same tone. I wondered if he noticed my obviously poor condition. I really hoped he didn't. I'm doing all right, and you? He looked at me closely. Was it an inappropriate question? I'm fine. I heard your mutual friend has returned to Japan. Catherine, right? Yes. Himitsu definitely shouldn't have told that to her father. Who needed that? I see. The awkward pause dragged on. Ryunosuke-san was just sitting on the sofa and keeping his eyes fixed on me, which was frankly making me feel uncomfortable. Finally, the front door opened and I could hear footsteps coming from the hall. I'm home. Himitsu appeared in the living room with bags in her hands. Nika-kun, she exclaimed, but having noticed her father, caught herself. So glad you came. Wait, I won't be long. She rushed to the kitchen to unload the bags. I won't bother you. Ryunosuke-san bid his farewell. I nodded, trying not to be too courteous this time. When the door closed behind him, Himitsu virtually assaulted me. Nika-kun, would you deign to explain what that was yesterday? That's what I'm here for. I relaxed to the armchair and smiled. She clearly hadn't expected this kind of reply. Well, that's good, of course, but... I just couldn't handle the stress. I needed to relax. So you think drinking yourself into oblivion is a good way to relax? Whatever works. Try not to relax so much you won't be able to tense up again, she said in a grim voice and returned to the kitchen.
We're going to have dinner soon.
I didn't want to, and couldn't eat at all. But there was no option to refuse the invitation either.
When were you at school last time? Do you even remember?
Well, on Tuesday?
Tuesday.
She grumbled and put her chopsticks away. That was a signal that I didn't have to force myself anymore. Morning pickles were more than enough for me.
Nico-kun, this is no joke.
Nobody's laughing. You know, like in that joke, when I wanted to become a comic, everyone was laughing at me, but guess what? Now I am one, nobody's laughing anymore. Himitsu sighed and shook her head. It's just that I feel like I'm not myself these days. But over yesterday and today, I've given it some thought, reevaluated my life a bit.
Successfully?
I don't know yet. It's too early to draw conclusions. Apparently she was still upset, because she was talking a lot less than usual. How was your day?
As usual. My days always go as usual, Nico-kun.
Perhaps I didn't ask enough about Himitsu's life, or more precisely, about the part that wasn't related to me. But how could she blame me if it was always as usual for her? So, nothing new at all?
Well, Saya-chan told me you were rude to her yesterday.
Huh, guess she didn't notice the industrial timber complex in her own eye. Himitsu smiled.
This time she wasn't swearing about you that much, so you can be proud of yourself.
What an achievement.
If you'd pay more attention to other people,
What do I care about your Saya?
you should treat others like you want to be treated yourself, and you treat everyone terribly.
Well, I treat you okay,
That's what you think.
Himitsu said quietly. What? Oh, sorry. I had to admit, her words stung. I still didn't care what the Saya-chan and the rest like her thought of me. I even knew perfectly well that I acted like a pig to Himitsu. But when she said it herself, I recalled Ed and his applied psychology again. Psychoanalysis is, at its core, the process of structuring thoughts, sorting through them so that each has its own place. Try throwing all your stuff into one big box for years, then try finding something you need in a couple of minutes. So what are you guys preparing for the school festival? I tried to change the topic rather awkwardly.
I've already told you. A cafe.
I immediately wanted to see Himitsu in a maid uniform, though I didn't say it. I'm sure the food will be delicious. If you're in charge of cooking, then definitely.
Other girls can cook too.
Definitely not as well as you.
You'll try it when you come by.
I definitely will. By the way, let me handle the dishes.
Oh, that's not too much effort for you.
Well, I'll just have to wait and see. It's interesting how something as ordinary as a kitchen sink can be so dissimilar in each individual house. Literally, in its every aspect, the tap and the handles, the location of the drain, the sponges and the rags. The pressure was remarkably strong, but the water didn't splash all over the kitchen like at my place. Well, you can't underestimate how well thought out modern houses are. Should we go out somewhere? I still felt guilty because of what happened yesterday, and a few words weren't going to change that. I needed something more substantive.
Go where?
Himitsu asked. She'd already turned on the TV and was watching a soap opera. We could just walk around, or go to the cinema. Do you want to watch a movie?
I don't know.
She said, not expressing much interest.
What's the movie about?
Some sort of science fiction, I guess.
Is it scary?
Himitsu didn't like horror films. I have to admit, I shared the sentiment, though for different reasons. Well, we can watch it and see if it is. She turned the TV down after a few seconds, said merrily,
You choose.
on the one hand, I wanted to watch a new movie, but on the other, I know what happens with Himitsu in a cinema when some sort of papier-mâché monster appears on screen. A simple walk wasn't that dangerous, but of course, it wasn't that entertaining either. Ooh. Ooh. Interesting. I don't know. I'm not too sure on that one. I don't think it's going to have like a major effect, but maybe it will. Do we just go for a nice little walk? Do we hit the cinema? I don't know. If he wants to have like the chat he's looking for, I feel like a walk is more the move to go. You're not going to have much of a chat if you're going to the movies, you know? I could watch that film on my own. Himitsu didn't like science fiction anyway. We walked the streets of Tokyo without any particular destination, but somehow found ourselves in the park. It was more like Himitsu had gently guided me there. Why the park?
I don't know. We haven't been here for a while.
Not together, perhaps, but I had been reminiscing here just yesterday. A rather unpleasant feeling came over me, and I could feel a lump in my throat.
Nico-kun, are you alright?
I couldn't even say for sure whether Himitsu knew that Catherine and I had spent a lot of time together in this park. The air here is too clean. I feel a bit dizzy. I laughed it off.
Look.
Himitsu said loudly and approached a tree standing by the footpath. A pretty big squirrel was sitting on a branch. Squirrel just chilling on a bench, hell yeah. Although it mostly looked similar to its European counterpart, something felt elusively alien about it. Of course, I couldn't blame the poor animal for that.
What a cutie. Oh, I have nothing to give you.
I checked my pockets and unexpectedly found some chocolate. Here you are. The squirrel climbed down, smelled the chocolate, but snorted and climbed back up the tree, hiding in its dense foliage. Apparently it doesn't like chocolate.
Still, it's almost like a pet.
I guess it's used to being fed.
Let's bring some nuts next time.
Yeah, that should do for it in order to stock up and enjoy its winter sleep.
Squirrels don't hibernate, that's why they stock up.
How do you know that?
I attend class sometimes.
But your cat has stockpiles everywhere, under the sofa, behind the wardrobe. She seems to hibernate through the whole year.
Don't insult my cat.
I would have loved to have a cat myself, but that would have been unfair to the poor animal. I wonder if there are other animals here. Maybe bears. Himitsu looked at me with surprise. Or wolves.
Wolves? Do you think there are wolves here?
She asked, horrified, and stepped closer to me. Or tigers. Tigers are also cats, after all. They're just bigger. Or... And I finished the sentence as I saw Catherine was walking towards us. God damn it. Catherine, you sack of shit. We're enjoying a nice moment at the park and you just have to come strolling up like, yeah, what's up? I'm a cunt.
Nico-kun?
I jerked my head in the direction of the footpath. Himitsu stepped even closer than before.
Hi, Kari-chan.
She greeted Katia happily as she approached us. Taking a walk? Yes, I said coldly, quite unexpectedly even to myself. Weirdly, this was the first time in almost 2 weeks that all three of us were together. Catherine seemed disappointed. She clearly hadn't expected to see me here, especially with Himitsu. But then why hadn't she left as soon as she noticed us? I was trying not to think about the reasons that could have brought her here. She was alone, just like me yesterday.
How are you doing?
I wouldn't call Himitsu's behavior towards Katia hypocritical. Sometimes it surprised me. Not as well as you are, apparently.
Did something happen?
Nothing in particular, and everything at once. You know, it happens. I wondered if our morning conversation had affected her that much. I didn't want to think that Catherine simply didn't enjoy seeing us together. I didn't want to go through that vicious cycle of agonizing introspection again.
We saw a squirrel. They didn't take the chocolate, though.
All these childish remarks were quite inappropriate. What are you doing here? Taking a walk as well. Can't I? Alone? Katia frowned and flashed me an angry glance. I'm not breaking any local laws, I hope. You must know Japanese legislation better than I. I saw a sign saying you can't walk dogs here. They mention humans. Well, it's good that you haven't brought a dog today, then. She smirked, and I couldn't forgive the jab. You know, I don't like dogs in general. Would ever like to have someone shit around them all the time. True enough. Catherine ended that little duel.
Alright, we should go then. See you, Kari-chan.
All of a sudden, Himitsu stole the initiative. Hell yeah. The heck was that? For a couple minutes, we walked in silence.
You tell me.
No, I don't mean you. On the other hand, what was Himitsu supposed to fist fight her? Alright, never mind.
And you're... that. Why did you argue with her?
I didn't.
You did.
Sunshine. I played my last card. You don't think it's my fault that she turned out to be here, do you? We study at the same school, live in the same city, almost in the same district.
So you know where she lives?
Himitsu stopped and grabbed me by the hand. Well, yeah, the same place as before.
Don't lie to me, Nico-kun. She was that far away from here. Now you're telling me it's in the same district?
No, I just... That was quite a snafu. She turned around and walked quickly away. Sunshine, wait. Yes, I know where she lives, but what's wrong with that?
You should have told me.
Himitsu said without turning to me. I didn't think it was important. Besides, we talked about my problems. You know, those problems. She stopped immediately.
Are you trying to say that Catty-chan is somehow related to all that?
No. I didn't know where to look, and it took me a tremendous effort to appear normal. However, that's how people usually know you're lying to them.
Then why did you Then why did you talk about it with her?
I didn't tell her anything. I was just wanted. I just wanted to know why she came back now of all times.
So why?
Because of her mother's work.
What a convenient excuse.
Yes, it does seem strange, but I'm sure it's just a coincidence. Himitsu gave it some thought. There are many things she could accuse Catherine of, sure, but participation in a conspiracy wasn't one of them. Yet. Not everyone in the world wants to kill me. Yet. I smiled calmly at her.
You can kill a person in different ways, and over different amounts of time.
You're speaking like a serial killer. I've been slowly approaching her and already crouched down to catch her in my arms.
Nico-kun, don't!
Himitsu yelled and broke into a run. Oh. I got up to her and wrestled her into a pile of autumn leaves neatly arranged along the road.
Nico-kun!
She was laughing happily and trying to break free. Her red cheeks were glowing, her eyes flashing, and the bright red leaves tangled in her hair seemed to become a continuation of her braids. That's when I kissed her. Oh, smooth with it. Smooth with it. It's gonna cause complications, but he's smooth with it. Instinctively, driven by the heat of the moment. This situation was too romantic. I've been starved of intimacy for way too long. Or maybe, this kiss carried my true feelings. Hell yeah, it did. Himitsu didn't react at first, but then reciprocated and hugged me tightly, pressing herself to me. In moments like this, you lose all sense of time. We lay together, becoming one and kissing each other, while gray autumn clouds passed above us, and a mighty wind blew high in the sky, taking away the last remnants of summer. Eventually, I tore myself away from Himitsu and helped her stand up. Sorry.
No,
She shook her head embarrassed.
it was just so unexpected.
Well, whatever you think, I almost said about Catherine.
About what?
Nothing. Let's go home?
Let's go. I feel tired.
Hell yeah, that was fucking nice. We spent almost the entire walk back in silence. No, I wasn't regretting what I had done at all, but I still felt awkward. Naturally, things were even more complicated for Himitsu, so I couldn't hope for a continuation, although I wasn't sure I would be able to refuse it. When we arrived, I stopped and said, "Alright, I will see you tomorrow then."
Yeah, bye.
Himitsu replied briefly and left. Left too quickly, as if she were upset with me. That kiss had probably embarrassed her more than I thought. Apparently I wasn't going to get dinner tonight. However, that seemed to be the least of my problems.